Checking my calendar on the wall. I'm kind of nearsighted. I need to squint at what time it is. October! You know what that means, y'all. Hit that lightning! Happy spooky season, my friends, and welcome to my 4th Halloween special. I'm looking at a gigantic list of horror movies, some that I've wanted to talk about for a while, some you lovely people have requested over the past number of months. Thank you so much to everybody who's contributed. And thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new, do consider smashing that subscribe button and joining the family today, and hit that like button if you enjoy what you saw today. But in my 4th year doing this Halloween special, usually I like to start by paying tribute to a pioneer and a classic. This year, I feel like there was only one movie that I wanted to talk about in this slot, Dracula. Which, for those of you who've been with me for a while, and with my buddy Jacob Hubbard for that matter, you remember that 2 years ago, he reviewed this movie to start off the Halloween special, and I reviewed the movie he's starting off with this year in Frankenstein, starring Boris Karloff. So literally, we're just swapping starting titles this year. Shout out to Jacob Hubbard. Go check him out if you haven't already. But Dracula was one of the big Universal monsters to really kickstart a humongous moneymaker for them. And this, of course, follows the iconic performance of Bela Lugosi as the dashing, mysterious Count Dracula. After hypnotizing a British soldier named Renfield into his mindless slave, he travels to London and takes up residence in an old castle. Soon, Dracula begins to wreak havoc, sucking the blood of young women and turning them into vampires. When he sets his sights on young Mina, played by Helen Chandler, the daughter of a prominent doctor, vampire hunter Van Helsing, played by Edward Van Sloan, Van Helsing is enlisted to put a stop to the Count's never-ending bloodlust, especially once he sets sight on his dear daughter. Now, it goes without saying, just from looking back at this feature, just the spooky aura and the weird gothic production design that went into this thing. The look of the castle, the creepy performances, the lighting. Oh my gosh, the lighting. You want to talk about a pioneer in cinematography and direction? This is a movie to look at right here, and this is a movie to study if you're looking at going into lighting. It adds so much to what is already such an ominous presence throughout this film. And that ominous presence, obviously, is the one and only Bela Lugosi in one of the most iconic, recognizable performances of all time. I mean, you just take one look at this guy and yeah, this is Dracula. You don't even have to hear a word out of this guy's mouth. He looks the part, he owns the part, he is the part. All the work that this man is putting in and the dialects that he has for Dracula is absolutely perfect. You just can't help but look at this guy and feel shivers up and down your spine when you watch it. And if you consider yourself a horror aficionado and you've never seen this flick, first of all, what the heck are you even doing here? Go watch this movie. Second of all, you're just simply doing yourself a disservice. If you want to go into acting and what it takes to get into acting, watch this performance. Absolutely mind-blowing and revolutionary what he does here. It's also mind-blowing what director Tod Browning actually does to present this guy as a horrific figure. Yes, obviously from the looks of things and his makeup and his dialect, you can tell he's a vampire. You can tell from his gait and the fact that he doesn't like looking himself in the mirror. He's a vampire. Like, there is nowhere to hide. You're a vampire, sir. But I think it's also the fact that this director is instilling the fear factor in the audience through the subjectivity of imagination. Because believe it or not, you do not see Dracula bite into one neck in this movie. You don't see any fake teeth or anything like that. You don't see an ounce of blood spilled in this movie, which can be unheard of 90 years later. But I think when you see the framing of what Tod Browning is doing, and the fact that Dracula is slowly creeping in towards his victims and he's seeping out of frame, I think it's honestly scarier not seeing the damage he's inflicting. Because you don't know how gruesome it is. You don't know if he just took one bite out of this poor woman's neck, or if he just mangled her corpse until there was nothing left. The imagination factor of just envisioning what the killer could be doing has always been so much scarier to me than actually being shown what happened. And again, fear is going to be subjective for a lot of people. Some might look at this movie over 90 years now after the fact, oh my god. But they could look back at this work of art and be like, what was scary about that? Because yes, a lot of the performance factors can be very cheesy. Dwight Frye as Renfield, yeah, it's a great performance. But his delivery and a lot of the dialogue that he's given, yeah, it certainly feels like a movie that was written in old-time Hollywood. And obviously, the effects are not going to be as great as it would be in a 30s movie as it would be in a 2030s movie, for example. Like when Dracula enters through a window into a victim's bedroom, yeah, you can see the string holding the bat down there. You can see that the bat is puppeteered by somebody. And then it just cuts away to a quick shot of the girl sleeping and Bela Lugosi standing there somehow with no magical effects and the bat is just gone. Yeah, there's a lot of aspects when you compare it to something like Frankenstein, which I think is a horror masterpiece. Yeah, there's elements of Dracula by comparison that make it feel a little bit dated. And that's the reason why I feel like Frankenstein has the edge in terms of Universal monster movies. That movie feels timeless. Like, even though it came out in the 30s, Frankenstein could take place at any point in history. If you told me that that Frankenstein movie came out in the 60s or heck, even the 90s, I would have been fooled. But the difference is you can absolutely tell that Dracula came out in the 30s. And not that there's anything wrong with that, because obviously you're gonna have to be a lot more inventive without the big technological advancements that film has seen. And I give massive props to Dracula for pulling out all the stops. Obviously, with one of the most iconic performances of all time, one of the greatest directing performances of all time, one of the coolest and creepiest directions that a movie has taken with not seeing any blood in a vampire flick. And even though this movie has elements where you can certainly tell when it came out, there is no denying this movie's revolutionary status. And it deserves all the respect and the acclaim that it's gotten over this past number of decades. And I think it still stands the test of time as a horror movie pioneer. I'm going to give Dracula an A. Even though it doesn't feel as timeless as Frankenstein by comparison, this is still really damn good. But let me know what you thought of Dracula down in the comments section below. Let me know what you think is the most iconic horror movie performance of all time. Is it Bela Lugosi? Is it somebody else like Boris Karloff in Frankenstein? Guys, lots to discuss over here, especially throughout the month of October as we go through a list of 14 movies, including this one. That's something else you'll notice about my Halloween specials. They seem to be getting bigger and bigger every year. So one more reminder, smash that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up as well. Can't wait to reveal what's next on the list as we progress through the next month. I can reveal that up next, we're going to actually lighten the mood a little bit. It's not explicitly a horror movie by definition, but talking about Frankenstein and keeping with the tradition of having at least one Frankenstein movie, we're going to talk about Young Frankenstein. Yeah, a little bit different, comedy, parody, scary movie, but yeah. It's something I've wanted to talk about for a long time. So stay tuned for all that and much, much more, including all my reviews of the new releases coming out this month. It's gonna be busy, and I can't wait to bring all this content to you guys. So with all that being said, back talk, commence.